For more than 2 centuries, a single name has been a byword for immense wealth, hidden influence, and global power: Rothschild. The word itself conjures images of shadowy figures pulling the strings of empires, financing wars from behind the scenes, shaping history according to a secret master plan. This family has been at the center of countless stories, some grounded in fact, others veering into elaborate fantasy. They have been credited with everything from orchestrating battles to crashing markets for their own gain. The sheer endurance of this legend is a testament to the profound mystery that has always surrounded their operations. A mystery born from a blend of private banking, political secrecy, and the anxieties of a rapidly changing world. But beyond the swirling mists of myth and conspiracy, a more concrete and arguably more fascinating story exists. If we peel back the layers of speculation, what did the Rothschild family actually build? The answer is not a secret government or a hidden cabal that rules the world from the shadows. They built something far more practical and, in many ways, far more revolutionary for its time. They constructed a mechanism. It was a machine made not of gears and steel, but of information, trust, and capital. This network became the financial infrastructure of 19th-century Europe, a web of connections that moved money and intelligence, faster and more efficiently than any government or rival could ever hope to achieve. This is not a story about a hidden empire. It is a story about the architects of modern finance. To understand their true influence, we must move past the myths and examine the machinery they engineered. This is a study of how a family, starting from the margins of society, created a system that fundamentally altered the flow of power across the continent. We will explore the core components of their success. We will look at the incredible speed of their information network in an age before the telegraph. We will analyze how they pioneered cross-border capital flows. We will investigate their role in war financing and the creation of the modern bond market. Our journey is a quest to map the real source of their power, separating documented history from sensational fiction. We will not be chasing ghosts or debating unfounded theories. Instead, we will trace the wires of their network, following the money, the messages, and the strategic decisions that allowed them to rise. The goal is to provide a clear, factual account of how a single family built the financial plumbing that lay beneath the great events of their time. By understanding the mechanism they created, we can gain a far deeper insight into the true nature of power and the intricate relationship between finance and history. This is the story of the Rothschild Network, explained. To understand the global financial network the Rothschilds would eventually build, we must begin in a place where their world was incredibly small. Our story starts not in the grand halls of European palaces, but in the cramped, crowded confines of the Frankfurt Judengasse, or Jews' Alley. This was the mandatory segregated quarter where the city's Jewish population was forced to live. It was here, in 1744, that Mayor Amschel Rothschild was born. His environment was one of severe restriction, a narrow lane locked at night and on Christian holidays, designed to isolate its inhabitants from the rest of the city. The house where Mayor Amschel grew up was known as the Haus zum Roten Schild, or the House at the Red Shield. This simple emblem would one day give his dynasty its famous name. His family was not destitute. They were modest merchants and money changers, a trade that gave his young son his first lessons in the complexities of money. From an early age, Mayer was immersed in the world of coins, currencies, and the intricate calculations required to find value. Mayer's formal education was initially intended to guide him toward becoming a rabbi. This religious training, however, inadvertently provided him with a powerful set of practical skills. But the premature death of his parents forced him to leave his studies. His relatives arranged an apprenticeship for him at the banking firm of Wolf Jakob Oppenheim in Hanover, a crucial step that would move him from theory to practice. This early life, defined by the constraints of the ghetto and the loss of his parents, forged in Meyer Amschel a relentless drive and a keen understanding of survival. He learned that in a world that denied him land, status, and freedom of movement, his mind was his greatest asset. His knowledge of trade, currency, and finance was not just a profession. It was a tool for navigating a hostile environment. It was from this restrictive, marginalized beginning that the seeds of a global financial empire would unexpectedly sprout. The society in which Meyer Amschel Rothschild came of age was built on a foundation of rigid exclusion. They were forbidden from owning land. They were also excluded from the powerful craft guilds. This enforced specialization had a profound and paradoxical effect. While it was intended as a form of oppression, it inadvertently cultivated a deep expertise in financial matters. They became experts in assessing the value of different currencies, managing credit. Yet, it was precisely these limitations that pushed him toward the niche where he would ultimately excel. He understood that capital, unlike land, was mobile. He knew that knowledge, unlike a guild membership, could not be restricted by geography. Upon returning to Frankfurt, he started his own business dealing in rare and antique coins. This was a clever entry point into the world of high finance. A deep knowledge of numismatics was therefore a highly valuable and sought-after skill, giving Meyer a legitimate reason to engage with powerful potential clients. His breakthrough came when he managed to gain the patronage of Crown Prince Wilhelm of Hesse. His fortune largely derived from renting out his soldiers as mercenaries. In 1769, Meyer Amschel Rothschild was granted the honorary title of court factor. This was a significant step up from being a simple ghetto merchant. Practically, it allowed him to display the coat of arms of Hesse Castle at his place of business, setting him apart from his competitors. As a court factor, Meyer's responsibilities expanded. He began to handle broader financial services for Wilhelm and other nobles. This included procuring loans, managing investments. He was learning how to manage the finances of the powerful, and most importantly, how to earn their absolute trust. It was the foundation upon which he would build his family's future. As Meyer Amschel's business grew, he recognized a fundamental limitation. He was still just one man operating from a single city. Relying on a single patron, no matter how wealthy, was a risky long-term strategy. True security laid in diversification and reach. The solution he devised was both simple and revolutionary. He decided to build a network, not with partners or employees, but with his own flesh and blood. He had 5 sons, Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Karl, and Jakob. He saw them not just as his heirs, but as the pillars of a new kind of international enterprise. He would keep his eldest son, Amschel, in Frankfurt. The other 4 would be strategically dispatched to the key financial and political centers of Europe. Salomon would go to Vienna, Nathan to London, Karl would head to Naples, and Jakob was sent to Paris. This was not merely an expansion, it was the deliberate architectural design of a new kind of financial machine. Each son would establish a new, independent, yet fully integrated branch of the family firm. In an age before the telegraph or modern banking, this family-based structure provided an unparalleled advantage. It solved the fundamental problem of trust in long-distance transactions. A promise made by Nathan in London was as good as gold to Salomon in Vienna because they were brothers. It was a private, closed-loop financial ecosystem. In the pre-telegraph world, information was the most valuable commodity. So they built a private intelligence system. Its design goal was one thing: speed. While official mail crawled, their messages flew. A dispatch from Nathan in London could reach Paris or Frankfurt days earlier. The brothers were planted in Europe's nerve centers. They cultivated ministers, diplomats, high insiders. For privacy, they used sophisticated codes and ciphers. Not conspiracy, practical protection of advantage. They were operating with a map, while everyone else navigated blind. The long and grueling Napoleonic Wars provided the ultimate test for the Rothschilds' nascent network. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the third son stationed in London, quickly emerged as the pivotal figure. Britain faced a critical logistical problem: how to transfer its money to the continent. Napoleon's continental system made direct transfers nearly impossible. Nathan devised a brilliant and complex scheme. He used government money to buy up bills of exchange. The Rothschilds were effectively laundering money for the British government, using commercial paper to bypass Napoleon's blockade. The most famous story about the Rothschilds centers on the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The legend claims that Nathan went to the London Stock Exchange, pretended to sell British government bonds, and created a market panic. His agents secretly bought up the entire market. However, historical research has shown it to be largely a myth. The more plausible reality is that he did what any smart investor with privileged information would do: he began quietly buying government bonds. The true importance of the Napoleonic era for the Rothschilds was the establishment of their family as the unrivaled masters of sovereign debt. They introduced professionalism and transparency. The family purchased entire bond issues from governments at a fixed price, providing states with capital up front. They popularized multiple denominations of bonds. This made bonds accessible to wealthy institutions and to the burgeoning middle class. They pioneered paying interest in multiple stable currencies. Payments could be collected at any Rothschild branch across Europe, removing currency exchange hassles. In effect, the family became an unelected but powerful rating agency, their willingness to lend a seal of approval for a nation's creditworthiness. As Europe settled into a period of relative peace, the focus of the Rothschild enterprise began to shift. They increasingly directed their immense capital toward infrastructure. The family's first major railway venture was in Austria. Salomon Rothschild financed the Emperor Ferdinand Northern Railway, the country's first steam railway line. In France, James de Rothschild financed the Chemin de Fer du Nord, connecting Paris to the industrial heartlands of the north. The brothers saw railways as a network, not isolated investments. Their transnational perspective was perfectly suited to this new, interconnected technology. Railways needed coal and iron, so the family naturally expanded its interests into mining. These were vertically integrated operations. In Spain, they took over the world-famous mercury mines at Almaden. They were key financiers of the Suez Canal project, providing a crucial loan to the British government under Benjamin Disraeli to purchase a controlling stake. This can be seen as the blueprint for a new form of capitalism, network capitalism. Their true strength lay not in any single bank branch, but in the synergy of the entire network. The period of the Rothschilds' unparalleled dominance could not last forever. The first and most significant of these was the rise of powerful nation-states and their own financial institutions. The telegraph and later the telephone democratized information speed. The Rothschilds' private courier system became obsolete. As the generations passed, the initial intense unity of the five founding brothers inevitably diluted. The original, tightly integrated five-point network ceased to operate with the same singular focus. The Rothschilds remained a dynasty of immense wealth and influence, but their era of unique, centralized dominance had passed. Power in the world of finance had diffused. No account is complete without addressing the immense cloud of myth and conspiracy that surrounds their name. To understand why, we must look at the fertile ground in which these ideas took root. The very nature of their business, private banking, was inherently secretive, creating a veil of opacity that invited suspicion. It is essential to separate the documented mechanism of their influence from the fantasy of an all-powerful, hidden empire. Their influence on 19th-century governments and economies was profound, but this influence was exercised through concrete channels of finance. It was the power of the banker, not the power of a secret king. The placement of the 5 sons, the creation of the courier service, the financing of Wellington's army, the underwriting of state bonds, and the funding of railways. It is a picture not of a shadowy cabal, but of brilliant, ambitious, and ruthless financial innovators. First, networks can beat territory. In an interconnected world, control over connections is often more potent than direct political or military authority. Second, information speed matters. Capital follows knowledge. Those who know first act best. Third, trust networks outperform fragmentation. Family trust was their secret weapon. High-trust environments cut transaction costs and enable coordinated, complex action. Finally, finance is the ultimate political tool, the invisible architecture of geopolitical strategy. Myths attach to opaque power, but the real power is the mechanism. They did not build a hidden empire. They built the financial infrastructure of an age. They built the wires of power, and with them a blueprint for the modern world. Thank you for watching. If you have a keen eye for power analysis, join us, subscribe, and share this video with your peers. See you in the next video.